Hello, friends. Welcome. And we recently had a lot of new friends come on board here. So if you're watching this and you're new to the space, welcome.
Hello.
So we're going to be going over this next week of programming. And the way that we break these down, obviously, it's very specific to Olympic lifting right now. But as you will start to see, especially going into next year, as you kind of follow things along, because we work off different themes. So this year has been the peak year. So the theme has been just kind of peaking the capacity, peaking performance of what we've been trying to get better at, which has been the Olympic lifts, because those are the kind of highest expression of power in this game of life that we are playing. But then going into next year's theme is rest. Now, obviously the theme of rest doesn't just mean you're just going to be, sleeping for a whole year. But the theme of rest has to do with building capacity and expanding potential, opening up to possibility. That's like the winter season. So next year is honestly going to look damn near completely opposite in a sense than what we're currently doing, because next year we're going to be like branching everything back out and working on a lot of different capacities. Again, I'm still kind of working through exactly what that is going to look like, but I'm imagining like in the beginning of the year, because it's a rest quarter within a rest year, is likely going to be a lot of general corrective exercise, stability, mobility work, just kind of taking some time to really like balance the body out, make sure we're, just healthy and creating a good foundation. And then we'll start kind of building things up and then like expanding, like hypertrophy work, just overall, really just having an overall base of everything so that when we move into the following year, the prep year, that's like, now we have this capacity. Now we can start to, again, hone in on a specific intention of, okay, this is what we want to put more and more focus on. And then you can continue to build off of that. But with that being said, a lot of the principles, even though this is going to be a primarily more Olympic lifting specific program, a lot of the principles you can apply across the board. So it's like once we go through the numbers and everything and you see how the week is broken down, you can take the same idea and just like honestly just insert different exercises based upon what you want to get better at. And then the weaknesses related to that, the strengths related to that. I mean, literally everything, the whole foundation is there. You would literally, I'm just kind of like thinking this as I'm talking about it, you could just swap out the exercises. So like you'll see when we write it down, like the test is going to be the Olympic lifting total, but maybe your test is the powerlifting total, or how many pull-ups can I do, or what's my mile time. And a lot of in the free course, that is what helps you identify, what is the test, because the test is going to be really related to your own goals and aspirations and your own life vision for yourself and the different areas that you choose to nurture, that you've identified that are aligned with your unique expression of what you're here to do, your own genius, your purpose in life, what fulfills you, brings you happiness and joy. Because then whatever that test is that you've identified, then you just build everything else around that. So that's at least my little opening spiel here. We've got the bag, as you can see. If you want to know what's in the bag, if you watch, I believe it's lesson 25, which might not be out, well, by the time you see this, but probably will be. Lesson 25 on the podcast, I show you exactly what's in the bag. You're not going to want to miss that. It's infinite money's in this bag, bro. Hey. All right, y'all. I don't know, take it away. Yep. Take it away. So this is week number 4. Remember, this is a shorter cycle. So this is damn near halfway point already coming up. So week number 4, and this is a build week. And the average for the week is 215. So you know what that means.
Heavy.
Heavy. Yeah, boy. Perfect. So you see, kind of we mapped everything out. Year 4, peak year, quarter 4. So this is a peak cycle within a peak year. So we got a bunch of 4s today. 4, 4, 4.
4, 4, 4.
4, 4, 4. And then the average is 215. So that's 2 volume. And this is out of 5. 2 out of 5 volume. 1 out of 5 density. And I'll say this over and over again because you really can't get this stuff too much. So the volume is like how much you're doing. The density is like how much you're doing within a given amount of time or a certain pace. Higher density is higher pace, shorter rest, or just more reps, more time under tension. That's why the density is in parentheses because it can mean a lot of different things. But right, for what we're doing, it just means reps for the most part. And then 5 is the intensity, which is how heavy relative to how heavy you can do. So I'm trying to think of it like for lifting weights, it's easy because, like a snatch, you'll have whatever your best snatch is. That would be 100%. That would be the highest intensity of your snatch. And then everything else would kind of be relative to that. Same thing for like a squat or a bench or a deadlift. But I'm thinking, maybe like a run, because this is where sometimes intensity and density can get confused. Because just because you're like, yeah, we're gonna do the prep, yeah. Are you okay? Yeah, because I remember we switched up so that's a strength and weakness. Yep. Because a lot of times, like just because something it feels hard and you're like breathing heavy and your muscles are burning. That's usually like a high density workout, but it's not necessarily high intensity. So like if you do like a CrossFit workout or high intensity interval training, like the HIIT training, it's kind of a misnomer there because it's usually not high intensity because high intensity would be really heavy. It's high density, which means there's just a lot of work in a short amount of time, which then obviously feels intense, but it isn't actually intense. And so I'm trying to think like a run, what would be an example of like a high intensity run? That would be kind of like it'd be like a sprint. That would be high intensity. So if you wanted like a measurement, like a 40-yard dash or even like a 100-meter dash, whatever your time is for that, like an all-out sprint, that would be the equivalent of like your max snatch or your max squat or deadlift. And so then if you wanted to gauge intensity off of that, then you could say like, okay, this is my time for my 100-meter dash. And so that's you have a certain pace that is set that's like, relative to an all-out sprint. And so if you're going down from in intensity from there, you would just kind of coordinate the pace of what you're doing, if that makes sense. All right, so broken down the numbers. Now it's also we won't do this like for this cycle, but just kind of planting some seeds going into next year is we may start to play around with the lengths because we've been in a peak year. So it's like we've had like a long peak part of the week. Uh-huh. So like going into the rest year, I mean, again, I have to work with it a little bit, but like we might kind of expand out the rest part of it and then maybe just have like one, like the peak would maybe be like one day and then we kind of, space out the week a little differently.
Like that.
So again, we're still kind of playing around with this stuff, but just some ideas that are flowing through. So yeah, so basically you take these numbers, you take the average for the week, and then he broke them down into, because it's all the parts are within the whole, and the whole is within all the parts. It's fractal, holographic, whatever you want to call it. So even at the week level, we still have the 4 seasons. So it's like we have that at the year level, and then it goes from the year level to the quarters to the phases all the way down into the weeks. So we've got a prep part of the week, a build part, a peak part, and a rest part. And so then you take the average of the week, because there's an average for the year, and then from the year average you bring that into the quarter average, and then so on and so forth all the way to the week. And then basically there's little rules that, again, we just made this shit up. There's little rules to figure out what happens to the numbers with each of the different parts. So to go to the prep, you go up the volume, up the density, down intensity. And then the build is the average, because the build is kind of like the blend of all of it together. It's like where the most amount of work is getting done, but it's not necessarily the most volume, and it's also not necessarily the heaviest. It's kind of a blend between the two. So the build is the average, so we just keep the average for that. And then peak, you go down in volume, down in density, and then you go up in intensity, but we can't go above 5, so it just stays at a 5. And then rest, you go down, 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 2. So everything goes down on the rest. And then you do the same thing when you get to the day. That's why you see TJ's writing out all the days now. So that just goes down to here. Whoops. 3, 2, 4. And then that just stays like that. And then that's like we do like a kind of a peak, because we want to, because even within these little sections of the week, we still kind of have that same rule. Like there's a little peak prep part, build part, peak part, rest part. For the most part, obviously, by this point, because it's all averaged out, it's like it's not going to be, it's not like we have 4 days and we can perfectly put them all together. But still, we take the averages and that spills into the day. And then that lets us know, like, literally exactly what the day needs to look like. And again, whether you're doing Olympic lifting, because, well, obviously that's what we're doing because that's our test right now, or you're doing any other kind of thing, figure out what you're testing. And the test is essentially, if you took a little step further, it's like related to your intention. So it's like, what is your intention for your physical health at like just a basic level? It's like the intention is kind of, it's often intangible, but is really the core essence of what you're trying to do. Because, when we say like, well, what do you want for your physical health? And you're like, well, I just want to feel good. I just want to look good. I just want to like be able to play with my kids, or, whatever that is. And a lot of times our intentions they're not like tangible. You can't really see them or like measure them, or somebody else can witness them. Those are a couple different rules to know if it's actually tangible, even though the intention is the important thing. That's really what we want. But only like we might only know that we're actually living that intention because it's often intangible. It's just like, I know I feel better. I know when I look at myself, I feel like I am happy with the way that I look. I know how I feel when I'm doing these daily activities. But to really be able to create a system around it that, in a sense, like, even though it's not the most important thing of just being able, just following a system for the sake of following a system, it allows you to have something so that you can actually kind of detach yourself a little bit from it and not become so like, start doubting yourself. Are you doing the right things? And like all the questions come up. It gives you something to kind of rest on a little bit, which paradoxically allows you to just surrender to whatever is happening, because you can kind of trust in a little bit of a system. I mean, damn near it's like, people talk a lot of shit about like different religions and things like that. And I'm not against religion at all. And it's kind of similar in that sense where it's like, why people are gravitate towards a certain religion, at least as a starting place. And that's the way I see this too. It's kind of like a starting place to ultimately move beyond, transcend, and include. It's the same thing with like different religions where, you have these different kind of set in stone rituals and traditions, and even kind of like guidelines of how to navigate life. So it's like, a lot of people, it's very helpful to have a starting place like that. It's just, again, just like this, and I say it over and over again, it's like not getting wrapped up in like, this is the way. Because that's where religion starts to become dogma, because the word religion itself, if I remember right, it just means like a relinking. Like if you look at the roots of the word, it's like a relinking to oneness. That's literally what the root, the kind of etymology of the word religion means. So it's like you don't want to get caught into a certain way of being, and then you get stuck, and then you can't move beyond it. So little spiel there, but it's the same kind of thing. It's like this gives you something to rest on, to know like, hey, I'm following the parameters, I'm doing this many sets, I'm doing this percentage, I'm doing whatever that is, but ultimately know like this is just the finger pointing, but it's not the thing that it's actually pointing to. But sometimes you need to go in that direction to finally see like, oh, this is what has been here the whole time. All right. So that is how programming mixes with spirituality. All right, so what we got going on here, baby? So we got that prep day. So let's. So we're gonna be getting like really specific now, because this is peak. So there's not gonna be a whole lot of bullshit. But remember, like I said, we go into next year is gonna look damn near completely opposite. So like, I would, as much as this might seem tedious and getting monotonous at this point, because we've been doing this for this long, there's only like 5 more weeks of this. So it's like, just fully embrace it and just give it everything you got.
Strap in, baby.
Give it everything you got. All right, so we got 3, so that's 3 blocks. So let me pull up last week just to get a little feel here. So we did a little snatch thing, and then we did jerks, and then front squat. So it's a strength day. So typically on a strength day, you want to focus on the things that you're kind of already good at. So we're going to probably stick with the back squats here. So we know we're going to do back squats. We only got 1 there. We only got 2 there. So let's go ahead. Let's do a, honestly, we can do the power stat. Well, you damn near just keep the same complex at this point. So you do like technique, and we'll do snatch pull, power snatch plus snatch balance.
Gotcha. I will, something to throw in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
As a little tidbit for us. But for them, first of all, just what you just said.
Go on in.
Everything what he just said, guys, I hope you recognize, like, it's you. Like, we are trying to help you help yourself. Like, more than we want you to think that this program or the way that we're trying to help you guys is like you said, the way, like, honestly, like you said before too, like, we're making this shit up. Like, we are using our experience and our knowledge, things that we've been through, to cultivate something that we have found useful, that we hopefully will allow you guys to be useful as well to it, and it will help you figure out what is best for you. So keep that in mind. I was going to say, but we haven't really done, maybe because we've been peaking, but I was going to say we haven't really done shit from the blocks in a while. Yeah. So I'm like, maybe for like the next cycle, but like, because I do agree, like staying with the same complex for a little while allows you to improve those specific things, like those parameters that come with the, with the complexes, the parts of the tests, part of the movements. So I think that has value, but like, obviously, we know block work obviously is useful at some point as well too. So maybe we'll get back to that shit at some point.
Yeah, and I've been kind of like, because obviously there's like so many different tools.
Yeah. Like
so many different things. Because I've been also kind of considering the same thing with like using the blocks and using different things. But it's always that balance of like, okay, if we only have so much that we can do. And that's why I think, again, like as we go in, I'm really curious even when we get into like the prep year, right? Because like that's just like a hell of volume. So that's just like
definitely that'd be a
all the different types of shit.
Yeah, for sure. So strength, even said, no, not strength.
Yeah, I call it technique.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we said
snatch pull plus power snatch plus snatch balance. And we'll just do the 3 sets, 1 plus 1 plus 1 out of 4. So damn near we'll just run back what we just did.
Run it back.
So we got jerks, and then we got front squats.
You said 3 times
1 plus 1 plus 1
out of 4.
Mm-hmm. That's a fancy see further.
That's better. Okay.
And then we'll do jerks and front squats. Yeah, because then that's that, and then accessory, we just got 2 blocks.
Also,
I
too,
like it, I
everyone,
like it.
like you've heard us say before, it all works. Like, trust me, any drills or complexes that you might think of, that you may see, first of all, it's all good. So if you want to start implementing things into your warm-up, we encourage you guys to take a lot of your warm-up stuff into your own hands. But, like, it all is going to work. If you're doing this shit consistently, like, you'll find that, like, we're going to cover all the different elements of the lifts, and you're going to get better at them if you just lock in, you know what I mean?
Yes. We're playing the long game. And I think that's even been one of the hardest things for me of, you know, instead of just thinking in terms of weeks and months and even a year, it's like we're thinking in terms of decades at this point, which again, you know, I think in one of my other videos, I talked about multitasking and how a lot of times what we consider multitasking isn't really multitasking. We're just like switching our focus rapidly between things. And you know, there is something to be said about just kind of peripheral awareness of things, but like, you know, truly when you're multitasking, you're not really multitasking, you're just like switching your focus really quickly between things. But obviously, as basically everybody knows, when you are focused like really heavily, really intensely on one thing, there's a lot of power in that. And so kind of blending those two concepts together, it's like you can do everything, you can multitask, but instead of trying to multitask like all within the span of a week, we're just multitasking within the span of multiple years. So that gives us time to intensely focus on one thing for a good enough time to really have a significant impact before we switch to the other thing. So it's like we're still doing everything. It just, if you look at a small scale, it looks like we're only doing one thing because we are only doing one thing. We're just choosing to focus for a certain amount of time before switching to the other things. And then they all start to build on one another. Because if you develop mastery in one area, if you can take the time to really develop mastery in one area, your capacity to develop mastery in other areas, it gets easier. Because even though there's different things to be mastered, the path of mastery itself is pretty similar, regardless of whatever the actual thing that you were trying to master. So we're on the pursuit of mastery so that we can, it's like, you know, you get really, really deep into something that actually opens up the breadth of it. And then on the other side of that, as you open up your breadth, the breadth of mastery, it also accelerates your ability to go deep because you have a lot of different skills to be able to draw upon to pursue whatever the thing that you were focusing on for that time. Got the bag today. Go.
He's in his bag,
He's
everyone.
in the bag today. All right, so a little accessory day here. So we just got 2. So we'll do like a technique accessory kind of deal. And we'll do, since we did like a little snatch complex at the beginning of the week, we can do a little clean and jerk complex. Let's see what we did last week going on here.
It's like clean pull, power clean, push press.
Yeah, I'm with that. Yeah, we did, the clean pull, power clean, push press. Because, I mean, we did jerks by themselves already, and obviously we hit snatching. Well, if you're on the 5-day program, we hit that. But even if you're on the 3-day program, and I guess a quick note for any newbies here. So the way that we build out this program and the way that we can make it work with just one program is because we build out 5 days. But because of these different days and how things are prioritized, if you're doing a 4-day program, basically you would just take out the specific day. So you do day 1, day 3, day 5, and day 6. And then if you're just doing a 3-day program, you would do the strength, the weakness, and the test. Because it's all in order of, I call it, the technical term is the specificity prioritization. So it's like the test is the most important, strength is second most important, or weakness is second most important, strength is third, accessories fourth, specific is fifth, and then technique, if we were to do 6 days, you could have a technique day, and that would be the 6th. And who knows, when we get into next year, because the intensity isn't going to be as high, maybe we can throw in that like 6-day just to have more space to kind of work on other things. We'll see. So yeah, so we'll do let's keep the same thing. I like that. We'll do the clean pull, power clean with the push press. We already touched on the jerk, and that just kind of reinforces the drive. And then the accessory. So we did walking lunge with rotation with the check press. I think we should do pull-ups.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, walking lunge. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think we did this a couple weeks ago, but we can just run it back. We'll do the pull-ups with the Cossack squat.
Yeah.
Just get a little lateral stuff in here. Again, y'all, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like, keep this stuff simple. Like, especially, like, yes, you want to be diverse in a lot of the different movements that you do, but, you know, that they have, like, primary movements for a reason, because there's, like, really certain exercises that are just, like, really big bang, just core foundational exercises, and you don't need to get too fancy, y'all.
You guys will see, especially as social media becomes more and more, I mean, it already is super dominant and prominent, but like all these super complex, like seemingly innovative movement patterns and like drills and processes and things like that, which like to an extent have their own validity and whatnot. You guys can't even see me. Worst angle. But the squat, the lunge, the twist, the pull, like those things have been like ingrained and solid movement, and even like, you know, lunges and pulling, things like that. I've been for decades, like hundreds of years. You know what I mean? Like, and that doesn't mean that like what's older is better, right? But like if these things have been shown to improve performance and build strength, like again, doesn't mean those new things aren't valid. And over time, if we see like them, you know, hold some weight, like sure, but again, it doesn't have to, you know, don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like more is not always better. Keep it simple. Make it simple for yourself. Don't have to make things super complex. Like just make it smooth. Make it easy.
Say the truth is what works.
For sure.
All right, so that'd be, so you got 2, so that'd just be 1 set, and we'll do the, so remember, like if we're going on time-wise, so I like when we did the 30-second thing, because that was a nice little burner.
Right.
So yeah, we'll do like 30 seconds worth again. So 1 set, 30 seconds each. So like a 1 density would be less than 30 seconds. A 2 density would be between 30 seconds and 1:30. A 3 would be 1:30 to 3. 4 would be 3 to 5. 5 would be 5 plus. And that's time under tension. And then you could also reverse that, and that'd be rest. So it's like 5 plus minutes would be a 1 for if you're doing the rest parameters, and then so on and so forth. All right, and then we got the testy test.
Testy test.
Boop. And that's just gonna be snatch, clean, and jerk. And I'm another, just, you know, kind of throwing some things out there. It's like the test is related to whatever the 90-day result is for the cycle. And so the 90-day result for this cycle has obviously been to increase the total. But I think, because I am noticing, you know, like, I think a lot of us would benefit from doing even more like strength work. And I think as we go through these different cycles with the different years, you know, we'll have different blocks where we're like, yo, we're just focused on back squat. Like our main test is we want to get the back squat up. And so the whole program then would be like, that would be our test then. And then the program would be all designed around like getting your back squat up and then kind of letting things build over time. But there it is, y'all. And come join us for another week. It's time to send it on up.
Hey, one day at a time, everyone. Just keep rolling. Seasons are changing, right? We're going into this peak phase, which might seem a little bit of a conundrum because outside it's getting darker earlier. Like the sun is not going to be as bright and as radiant as it has been, like leaving the summer, leaving like that, even the fall timeline. So we've done a lot of the work. I mean, you've been prepping, been building, getting ready,
Hold on, G. Go, continue.
preparing ourselves all this time. But now there's going to be days, like, especially if it's dark and it's gloomy outside, probably not going to want to bring your ass to the gym. You're probably going to want to take a long nap, snuggle up, drink some hot chocolate, watch some movies. But now's when you really, really get to like choose yourself and embed that discipline, because you showing up when you don't want to, showing up when your body's tired, when your mind's tired, and there's a million reasons. Oh, I don't really have time. It's very easy to come up with reasons to not do things that we don't really want to do, but things that like you should do. So keep that in mind. Keep showing up. Love y'all.
Hell yeah. And just because you touched on it, something we talked about a little before off camera is just like the pace of things. So like with these different seasons, you can still do the same core work. You can still kind of be productive and like get your shit done. But the pace of things is what you can really change. Like I know, especially for me, and we kind of talked about this beforehand, going into this fall season, it's like, yes, we're still getting our workouts done. Like, yes, we're still doing our work, whatever that looks like. But I know, obviously I can speak for myself, especially for me, like the pace of everything has just been a lot slower. So like I might give myself less overall things throughout the days in the week, and just really, which is why it's really important to know like what's the real important things. So you can really prioritize those. And then beyond that, it's just like, if I feel like if things are getting rushy or whatever, I'm just like, you know what, let me kind of ease off a little bit here. We're just going to take this moment by moment. If I feel like just chilling for a sec, we're just going to chill for a sec, but we can still work. All right, my friends. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. Peace.